Is there something toxic in your life that is slowly killing you? I know what that is for me because it was slowly killing me, and that's celiac disease. Gluten, to be specific. I have to stay away from that. Now, if you have something toxic in your life that you need to get rid of, listen in. Welcome to the next 24 hours, where I'm going to give you real information you can really use to transform your life and work one day at a time. I'll be your host, Curtis Zimmerman. I was diagnosed with celiac disease when I was 16 years old. Prior to that, I was hospitalized. Just before I was 9 years old, I was hospitalized 37 times. And that means that I was so anemic that I would get up and I'd run across the room as a kid and I'd fall down and have a seizure. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So I was hospitalized over and over and over, and they kept giving me iron pills. They finally figured out, oh, he's so anemic that's why he keeps passing out. That's why he keeps hitting the floor. And so let's give him iron pills. They gave me iron pills, didn't work. So finally they figured out, we'll just give him iron shots. So over my lifetime, I can't tell you how many iron shots I've had. And it was horrible and torture. And when you're, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and you get in the car and you go to that one building where they are going to basically, as a kid, you don't know. They're going to torture you. They're going to, give you shots. They're going to run tests, EEGs, EKGs. They're going to do all these things. And you may have to just go and spend the night there by yourself, not knowing why. And your mom's going to leave and maybe be gone for 2 or 3 days. And you're going to have all these different experiences. And for me as a kid, that's what celiac disease was, and nobody knew why I was so sick. So I share that with you at the beginning because I need for you to understand that it's always better to know. It's always better to know if you have a condition. So if you've recently been diagnosed with something, I'm telling you right now, you should be rejoicing that at least now you know what the path is to be a whole healthy person, and you can take control over that yourself. And this is really important when it comes to celiac disease, and that is taking control over that yourself. And I mean whoever it is with it, you have to take complete ownership. Now, what do I mean by that is it's so funny because some people that are diagnosed with celiac disease or any type of allergy or anything, every single meal for the rest of their life becomes a topic of whatever it is that they have. So every single time they go out to eat, every single place they go, every person that goes with them, we're going to talk about you having celiac disease for 20 minutes at every meal for the rest of your life. That's really letting that control you and control the actions and really trying to give it more power, in my opinion, more power than you taking over the control, you being the one to ask, by the way, do you know for a fact this is gluten-free? I have celiac disease, and I'm not gluten-free because it's a choice. I'm gluten-free because if I eat it, I'm going to be very sick today, and you don't want me to be sick because you didn't think it was important. So having real conversations with people, but you taking that on yourself. And I've seen literally 9-year-old kids that have all kinds of severe allergies, have real conversations, and take complete control over the situation, even though the waiter or waitress is an adult. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And when you're able to do that, you're able to go ahead and live through the disease, live through whatever that allergy is, rather than letting it control you, okay? Now, what all did I learn because of that journey I talked about until I was 16? Boy, I learned so many life lessons, and I want to share one with you. So there I am, a kid, and I'm hospitalized, and in the bed next to me, there's a young man, and he's about my age, and he's diagnosed with cancer while I'm sitting in the same room. So I'm there, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with me, and he's in the bed next to me, and they come in and tell him he has something called cancer, and then they walk out, and then the parents come in, and they try to tell him a little bit about what cancer is, and they walk out. And about a year prior to that, I had lost my aunt due to breast cancer. So I had heard of cancer before and had a clue of what it meant. And finally, about a day and a half later, they came in and they pulled the big curtain and told him that he was never going to leave the hospital. And I think he was about 14 or 15, just like I was. And then they pulled the curtain back and they all left. And I was sitting with this young man who, we had talked and became friends. And it gave me a different perspective because a few days later I checked out and he was still there. So I can't tell you the end of the story, but I can tell you that I know every single person who's listening to this right now, you have a one-day pass from the hospital. And my perspective of my life when I wake up in the morning is, oh my gosh, look, I have another day pass that I don't have to be at the hospital today. And when you've been hospitalized as many times as I have, and you've spent as many hours and days and months in a hospital, you have a realization that every single person, I don't care if it's a car accident, I don't care if you have a heart attack, I don't care if you die of natural causes, I don't care what the situation is, none of us are getting out of this alive, and you're going to end up at a hospital sooner or later. Some people are going to be there for 6 months. So, it varies for everyone. So today, if you're listening to this and you're not sitting in a hospital bed, boy, you're living the dream. And that's my perspective. And I'm not going to change that perspective because I know the truth. And the truth is you have a one-day pass from the hospital. So that's one thing that I learned about celiac disease. The other thing I learned about celiac disease is you can take control of your life today. This podcast is about 24 hours. Can you change something dramatically in 24 hours? The answer is hell yes, you can. And I'm telling you right now you can. And if you don't believe that, listen to this. So hospitalized, feeling anemic, stunted my growth. I had dark circles under my eyes. I mean, it was horrible. It was not a happy place. Stomach cramps. I could go on and on. All the tests I mentioned earlier, EEGs, EKGs, where they go in and they stick a giant needle in your right there in the side of your leg, and they scrape the bone, and then they test that. All these kinds of things happen. Horrible. It was like torture as a kid. Then the doctor comes in and he celebrates because he was a specialist, and I was the first patient he ever had that he diagnosed with celiac. So oh my gosh, look, oh my gosh, yes, you have celiac disease, woohoo! And I'm going, oh my gosh, what does this even mean? I'm 16 and I have no idea what that means. And then he tells me, it's really simple, Curtis. All you have to do is change your diet. No pizza, no pasta, no noodles, no donuts. And you're going to do that, and you're going to change that. You're going to take something called gluten, which nobody had ever heard of at that point. You're going to take all the gluten out of your diet, and you're going to start feeling healthy, and your enzymes are going to grow back, which means you're going to start absorbing the iron like normal people, and you're going to just make that change, and you're going to feel better. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. About how long will I have to do that? And he said, oh, well, the rest of your life. The rest of your life. No pizza, no pasta, no noodles. For the rest of your life, you'll never eat bread again. Ever, ever, ever. And guess what? That day, I got that information. And from that day to today, where I'm sitting in front of this microphone all these years later, I have never eaten any of those foods on purpose. Ever. Oh, I'm just going to cheat a little. No. And you're going to tell me you can't change things? You can't take control of your life? You can't stop drinking 13 cups of coffee in a day? You can't stop with the diet sodas? I'm telling you, that's a total lie. You have control over what you put in your face. Bottom line, I'm living proof you can change it tomorrow if that's what your choice is. Now, what was my motivation? Well, I had a huge motivation. My motivation is I never wanted to go back to the hospital. I hate the hospital. I hate being tortured. So I knew if I made those choices, I didn't have to go to the hospital. And the newsflash is, from that day when I was 16 to today, I've never been hospitalized once since that day. So the trade-off for me not to eat pizza? No problem whatsoever. Sign me up, baby. If that means I don't have to go experience that, I'm all in. And now I know there are some people listening going, oh, but Curtis, now there is gluten-free pizza. That's all true. It's amazing the products that have come out now that are really tasty that aren't birdseed. You know, the first gluten-free things that came out, basically, here, this is a cracker. No, it's birdseed squashed together. It's horrible, and it hurts my teeth. Oh, look at this. It's amazing. It's gluten-free, and they're called rice cakes. Oh, great, and I can put peanut butter and jelly. It's just like bread. No, it isn't, just so you know. It's rice cakes, and I've eaten so many rice cakes, I'm never touching another one in my lifetime. But we live in a different time, and a lot of people like gluten-free foods, and I love the gluten-free foods. And so I have, to be honest with you, I have my favorites. You know, I've tried them all, and I have my favorites. If you want to see which ones I like and which ones taste amazing, what pizza brand do you buy, you can go to my website and check out my blog. I have several different blogs on celiac and about being gluten-free, and you can check those out and get that content if you want it. But I also have to say something, though, about what the big crave. You know, everybody right now is craving this gluten-free diet and I'm going to lose weight if total lie. Total lie. Is it better for a lot of people to avoid flour, wheat, rye, oats? Absolutely. Do they have a sensitivity? Absolutely. But I want you to know gluten-free does not mean healthy, and gluten-free does not mean glutton-free. It doesn't mean it's not fattening. So be very, very careful to read over, okay, it doesn't have gluten, but what are you eating? How many calories does this have? You can buy a gluten-free pizza, but it's still pizza, ladies and gentlemen. So it's still not like eating a salad, okay? Did you know salad's gluten-free too? So I share this with you because it's funny to me that some people think, oh, I'm being healthy because I'm being gluten-free. No, I can still gain a lot of weight, trust me, even though I'm eating a gluten-free diet and I've been on it for years. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. The next thing I would say is, what is gluten and gluten-free dieting taught me? It's taught me to read the labels. It's taught me that just because something says gluten-free, like I just said, doesn't mean it's healthy for you. Also, it taught me how to use an app called Is That Gluten-Free? It's a great app. I recommend it if you're newly diagnosed. It literally lists every food, every manufacturer, every brand in the grocery store. Is it gluten-free or not gluten-free? So very helpful. Nowadays, it's changed dramatically because manufacturers know if they do something that is gluten-free, normally now it's basically right on the packaging because they know they're going to sell more of it because it's gluten-free. So that's not as useful as it used to be when I first got diagnosed, of course, and when the app started coming out. Some takeaways for you. Control. How do you control what you put in your body? What do you have control over? And I want to talk to you about that because it's really, really important. And when we talk about the next 24 hours and the pass, I hope you get another pass from the hospital tomorrow. How are you going to use it? How are you going to fill that 24 hours? And every single day I wake up, I ask that question. Because I've been sitting in a bed before saying, please, 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 let me get out of this hospital. If I can get out of this hospital, I promise I will not waste my life. I promise I will be productive. I promise if you give me a chance, I will help other people. I've had that prayer many times in my life, and that's what I'm trying to live to now as somebody that's not hospitalized. So I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about this right now. Here's a couple things to take away for the next 24 hours. Number one, what is your wheat? What is your wheat? So I was living a lifestyle, and I was poisoning myself, and it wasn't healthy for me to eat those foods. So in one day, I made a conscious choice to stop eating those foods once I had the information. And I want you to think right now, what is your wheat? What is the one thing that you eat? What is the one thing that you do in your life? What is the one overlying thought? What is the negative thing you allow to get into your life every day that you need to alleviate? You need to rewrite that script. You need to get rid of that. So here's a quick example. I'm doing my speech at, Life at Performance Level, and I'm talking to the audience about wheat, and I'm talking about writing scripts. And when I'm done, I have people come up and they talk about what they got out of, Life at Performance Level, and write the crazy makers out. And so this guy comes up, and I mean, this guy's a mountain. He's gigantic, and he walks right up. And I don't know, it's one of those feelings where you're uncomfortable, like, is this person going to punch me in the face? Are they going to hug me? What's going on? And he walks up and he gets really too close to me. You know that where they kind of break that barrier? He broke the barrier big time. And he reached in his back pocket and he handed me his chewing tobacco. And he said, "You see that? That's my wheat. And I will never buy another tin of that, and I will never chew tobacco for the rest of my life. Thank you for your message today." And he walked away. Wow. I didn't do that. He did that. And I'm telling you right now, I want you to think about what is your wheat. What is the one thing tomorrow you need to get rid of and make a conscious choice? I am not doing that again. What is the one thing that you know for fact you're addicted to? Is it coffee? Is it sugar? What's the one food you have every day? Some people, it's Diet Coke. Man, or Pepsi. They got to have that Pepsi, got to have that Diet Coke, got to have that coffee in the morning, got to have the 2 glasses of wine before I go to sleep. Whatever that is, just for one day, I want you tomorrow to not have that one food, to not have that one drink. I want you to take that out of your diet, not forever, but for 24 hours, I want you to sustain from whatever that thing is that you normally have every day. Just see what it feels like. Be in charge of what you put in your body. Don't just do it reactively. If I can take away flour in one day, if I can go, I'm going to go pizza, pasta, noodles, donuts, pancakes, all those things. I love all those foods. Part of my problem is I've tasted all that stuff. It's really good. If I found out I couldn't have that when I was 4, and then my mom made me do it, and then I was my age now, I wouldn't know how good all that stuff is. It's delicious. I get it. But I'm telling you, you can make a conscious choice tomorrow to stop one of those and see what it feels like. See if your body feels different. See if you don't have the same mood changes because you're eliminating that from your diet. I'm so lucky to be able to run into these amazing people in my job traveling around. And one of those people is Chef Norman. He's an amazing guy. And Keith Norman is his name. And he's a chef. And he has a brand new book out. And it's called Allergen Awareness, A Chef's Perspective. And literally, it talks about his philosophy as being a chef, and you're busy in the kitchen, and it's amazing. And then they have gluten-free, let's just say gluten-free or peanut allergy. He doesn't go, "Oh no, this is a headache." He feels that it is an honor and a privilege for him to take a minute and prepare something that's specially made for that person that he knows for a fact is safe for them to eat. And that's the perspective he wants every chef in the world to have. Your job is to provide food for everyone, not just because it's easy for you, not just because that's the way it's on the menu so we don't alter it. No, his goal is to have a healthy, hearty, amazing meal for every person that he's lucky enough to be serving that day. So I highly recommend his book. If you know somebody with allergies, if you know a chef, if you know someone that works in a restaurant, this is the perfect gift. And if that's you, it's a must read. I highly recommend you get it. Hey, thank you for listening to The Next 24 Hours. It would mean a lot to me if you found this content today valuable, that you share it with your friends. Leave me a review. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more about what I do, it's really simple. Just go to curtiszimmerman.com. Remember, in order to live the dream, you have to make the next 24 hours count. The clock is ticking.